The alarm screamed through the Varelian border station, and Dayun's 6 eyes widened at her scanner display. Something was coming. Something impossible. She had worked at this monitoring post for 12 cycles, watching the empty darkness beyond the galactic rim. Nothing ever came from that direction. The outer regions held only void and silence. But now her screen showed energy signatures that made no sense. 6 massive objects were approaching at speeds that violated every law of faster-than-light travel she knew. Dayun's clawed fingers trembled as she increased scanner sensitivity. The readings got worse. Each object measured over 3 kilometers long. Their power output exceeded a battle station. Their whole composition didn't match anything in the galactic database, and they were slowing down, dropping out of hyperspace right at the border. She hit the emergency broadcast. "Command, this is Border Station 77. We have unknown contacts. 6 large vessels. Origin unknown. Technology unknown. They're entering our space." The response came in seconds. "Station 77. Confirm your readings." 6 vessels. Confirmed. They're bigger than anything I've ever seen. Power signatures are off the scale. Ow. We're alerting the Council. Keep monitoring, and do not, I repeat, do not attempt contact. Dayun watched as the 6 ships emerged fully into normal space. They hung there, silent and dark, their hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Each ship bristled with structures she couldn't identify. Weapons, maybe? Or sensors. Or something else entirely. The ships made no aggressive moves, but their mere presence felt like a threat. Across the galaxy, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in minutes. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their holographic forms flickering with agitation. High Counselor Viren, a tall being with silver skin and wise eyes, called for order. "We have a situation," Viren announced. 6 unknown vessels have appeared at our border. They are not responding to hails. They are not attacking. They are simply waiting. The chamber erupted in worried voices. The Vrelians demanded military response. The Sethari called for defensive positions. The Coltons suggested immediate evacuation of nearby systems. Every species had fought wars in their distant past, but the galaxy had known peace for 3,000 years. No one alive remembered how to deal with potential invaders. "What do we know about them?" asked a counselor. "Almost nothing," Viren admitted. "Their technology is advanced. Very advanced. Their ships are larger than our dreadnoughts. We've sent diplomatic signals in every known language. They haven't responded." "Then we must assume hostile intent," General Vex said, his scales rattling with anger. "We should strike now while they're disorganized." "Don't know they're disorganized," Viren countered. "We don't know anything about them." Aboard the human warship Indomitable, Captain Hyenwu studied the alien ships surrounding his fleet. They had appeared within the hour, hundreds of vessels forming a defensive sphere around the 6 human ships. The alien vessels were smaller, sleeker, and apparently armed. "They're definitely not happy to see us," Commander G1 said from her tactical station. She was studying the alien formations with professional interest. "Their weapons are charged. Energy shields are up. They're treating us like a threat." Hyenwu nodded. "Can we talk to them yet?" "The AI is still working on their languages," the communications officer reported. "We're picking up broadcasts in at least 20 different languages. It's taking time to build translation matrices. Keep trying. We came here in peace. I'd like to avoid any misunderstandings." In the observation deck, Ambassador Tae Young watched the alien fleet with excitement. This was what he had dreamed of his entire life. First contact with alien civilizations, real aliens, not just radio signals from distant stars. He had spent years preparing for this moment, studying xenopsychology and interspecies communication. "They look scared," said Dr. Youngsu, standing beside him. The xenobiologist was practically vibrating with enthusiasm. "Look at their formations. Classic defensive posture. They're more afraid of us than we are of them." "Can you blame them?" Taeyong replied. "We did just appear out of nowhere with 6 warships." "These aren't warships," Youngsu protested. These are exploration vessels. Try telling them that. To them, we probably look like an invasion force. Back on the bridge, Hyan Wu received a message from Admiral Borum, commander of the entire human expeditionary fleet. Her face appeared on the main screen, stern and focused. Status report, Captain. They were surrounded but unharmed. The aliens haven't fired. They're maintaining weapons lock, but showing restraint. We should have translation capability within the hour.
Good.
Remember your orders. We're here to explore and make friends. No aggressive actions. No weapons demonstrations unless absolutely necessary. And for the sake of everything holy, don't let them see our full capabilities until we understand their intentions. Understood, Admiral? The translation breakthrough came faster than expected. The AI had cracked the primary diplomatic language, and suddenly voices filled the bridge. Alien voices, speaking words that made sense. Unknown vessels. This is High Counselor Viren of the Galactic Council. Identify yourselves immediately. State your intentions. Why have you entered our space? Hyan Wu straightened in his chair. This was it. First contact. He activated the communication system. High Counselor Viren, this is Captain Hyan Wu of the Earth vessel Indomitable. We come in peace. We are explorers from a distant system. We mean no harm to you or your people. There was a long pause. Then Vrin's voice returned, cautious and uncertain. Earth. We have no record of Earth in our databases. What is your species called? We are humans. We come from a star system beyond your borders. We've been searching for intelligent life for many years. We're honored to finally meet you. Another pause. Longer this time. When Viren spoke again, his voice carried a note of confusion. Captain Hyan Wu, your vessels are concerning us. They are very large. They carry significant weaponry. Are these military ships? Hyan Wu glanced at G1, who shrugged. How to explain that humans didn't really distinguish between military and civilian vessels when it came to deep space exploration? That every human ship capable of leaving the solar system was built to survive anything. These are exploration vessels, Hyan Wu said carefully. They're designed for long-duration missions in unknown space. We built them to be self-sufficient and capable of handling any situation. Any situation, Viren repeated slowly. Captain, your ships register power levels equivalent to our largest military installations. Your weapon systems exceed anything in our current arsenal. How can you call these exploration vessels? It was G1 who understood first. She turned to Hyan Wu with wide eyes. Sir, I don't think they build ships like we do. Their military vessels are probably specialized. They don't arm everything. Hyan Wu felt a cold understanding wash over him. Humans had emerged from a violent world, fighting each other for thousands of years before reaching space. Every human ship was built with hard-learned lessons. Never be vulnerable. Never be caught unprepared. Always have the strength to defend yourself. These aliens had known peace for millennia. They had forgotten what humans had never learned to forget. High Counselor Viren, Hyan Wu said slowly, I think we need to talk. There are some things about humanity you should understand. We're not conquerors. We're not invaders. But we are survivors. And that might make us very different from you. On the Galactic Council station, Dayun reviewed the sensor data again. The human ships hadn't moved. They hadn't powered down their weapons. They just waited, patient and silent. And somehow, that was more terrifying than any attack could have been. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Council's primary station felt too small for the weight of the conversation. High Counselor Viren studied the holographic display showing the 6 human vessels. Behind him, representatives from dozens of species watched in tense silence. Across the communication link, Ambassador Taeyong smiled with what he probably thought was a friendly expression to the gathered aliens. It looked like a predator showing its teeth. Let me be clear about our intentions, Taeyong said. Humanity seeks peaceful relations with all intelligent species. We have no territorial ambitions in your space. We simply wish to learn, to trade, and to establish friendly diplomatic ties. Yeah, words are peaceful, Viren replied carefully. But your ships are not. Can you help us understand why exploration vessels need such extensive military capabilities? Taeyong glanced off screen, probably at his military advisors. When he looked back, his expression was more serious. That's a complicated question. Our history is different from yours. Humans evolved on a world that was constantly trying to kill us. Harsh weather, dangerous predators, limited resources. We learned very early that survival required strength. Many species faced challenges in their evolution, a Sethari counselor interjected. We did not all become warriors. Perhaps not, Taeyong agreed. But humans fought each other for thousands of years. We had wars that killed millions. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We nearly made ourselves extinct several times. When we finally reached space, we carried those lessons with us. We promised ourselves we would never be vulnerable again. The chamber fell silent. Several counselors exchanged worried glances. Daeyoon, watching from her position as a junior observer, felt her blood chill. These humans admitted to almost destroying themselves. What kind of species did that? Admiral Borum's face appeared on a secondary screen. The human military commander looked exactly like what she was, a professional soldier with decades of experience. Perhaps a demonstration would help, she said. With your permission? Hi, counselor, we could show you our capabilities. So there are no surprises later. Yarn hesitated. Every instinct told him this was a bad idea. But uncertainty was worse than knowledge. What kind of demonstration? Something simple. We'll fire one weapon at minimal power on an uninhabited target. You can observe and understand what human military technology is capable of. After hasty consultation with the council, Viran agreed. The aliens selected a barren moon in a nearby system. No atmosphere, no resources, no strategic value. Just rock and ice. Perfect for a weapons test. Captain Hyenwoo positioned the Indomitable at a safe distance from the moon. Commander Ji-won prepared the railgun, one of the ship's simplest weapons. Not the missiles. Not the energy weapons. Definitely not the classified systems. Just a basic kinetic weapon that any civilization with space travel should understand. A target lock, G1 reported. Firing at 10% power, the railgun spat, a solid projectile at a significant fraction of light speed. No explosions. No fancy energy beams. Just a chunk of metal moving very fast. It crossed the distance to the moon in seconds and struck the surface. The moon cracked. Not just cratered. The entire satellite fractured along fault lines, breaking into 3 large pieces and countless smaller fragments. The kinetic energy was so massive that seismic waves shattered the moon's internal structure. Aboard every alien vessel within sensor range, alarms blared. The weapon had been fired at minimal power. 1 shot, 1 weapon, and it had destroyed an entire moon. By the ancestors, Daeyoon whispered. What are these creatures? The galactic fleet retreated. Not in formation. Not in an organized withdrawal. They scattered like prey animals, fleeing a predator. Ships that had maintained perfect tactical positions minutes ago now fled at maximum speed. On the council station, panic erupted. Counselors shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate military mobilization. Others called for evacuation of border systems. A few simply stared at the display in shock. Viran forced himself to remain calm. Silence. We need to think clearly. Think clearly. General Vex roared. They just destroyed a moon with 1 shot at minimal power. What happens when they fire at full power? What happens when they use their other weapons? Ambassador Taejong Viran said, his voice shaking slightly. How many ships like this does humanity possess? There was a pause. Taeyong looked uncomfortable. The expeditionary fleet consists of 6 vessels, but Earth's total fleet is considerably larger, much larger. Earth maintains approximately 2,000 warships, plus support vessels, defensive platforms, and orbital installations. We also have significant industrial capacity. In a crisis, we could increase production substantially. The number hit the council like a physical blow. 2,000 warships. each capable of destroying moons, each carrying who knows what other weapons. And the humans claimed these were primarily for defense. Dr. Young-Soo appeared beside Taeyang on the screen, excited despite the tense situation. "I want to clarify something," he said. "That demonstration was with our oldest weapon design. A railgun is basically 19th century technology for us. We've had much more advanced weapons for centuries." "You're not helping," Taeyang muttered, but Young-Soo continued enthusiastically. "Humans are actually quite friendly once you get to know us. We love learning about new species. We have entire academic fields dedicated to theoretical xenobiology. We've been hoping to meet aliens for hundreds of years. Hoping to meet us or conquer us?" Vex demanded. "Chew. Why would we want to conquer anyone? War is expensive and complicated. Trade and cooperation are much more efficient." It was the wrong thing to say. The aliens heard efficiency in warfare. They heard casual discussion of conquest as a logistical problem rather than a moral one. They heard a species that thought about war in practical terms instead of regarding it as a historical horror. EUN accessed the human data that had been uploaded during the initial diplomatic exchange. As a xenopsychologist, it was her job to understand alien species. What she found made her tentacles curl in distress. Human entertainment included something called action movies that glorified combat. Human children played with toy weapons. Human history books read like endless chronicles of warfare. Every human language had extensive military vocabulary. They had sayings like "the best defense is a good offense" and "peace through strength." Even human biology was disturbing. Humans were pursuit predators with binocular vision designed for hunting. They had higher bone density than most species, allowing them to survive impacts that would kill others. Their pain tolerance was extraordinary. They could function with injuries that would incapacitate most aliens. And then there was Earth itself. Dayun pulled up the planetary data and felt sick. Gravity nearly twice standard. Atmospheric oxygen levels that would be toxic to many species. Temperature variations that spanned hundreds of degrees. Tectonic activity that caused regular disasters. Massive predators that humans had somehow hunted to extinction. Humans called their planet beautiful. The rest of the galaxy would call it a death world. "High Counselor," Dayun said quietly, "I've completed preliminary analysis of human cultural data. You need to see this." She transmitted her findings to the council. The chamber fell silent as representatives reviewed the information. Horror and fascination mixed on alien faces. "They teach their children about wars," a counselor whispered. "They have museums dedicated to weapons. They celebrate military victories as holidays." "Not just victories," Dayun added. "They also commemorate defeats. They honor soldiers who died in losing battles. It's like they find meaning in warfare itself, not just the outcomes." Taeyang tried to explain. "You have to understand the context. Our violent history taught us important lessons. We learned the cost of war. We learned the value of peace. Everything you're seeing is filtered through thousands of years of cultural development. What I'm seeing," Viren said slowly, "is a species that has never known true peace. You stopped fighting each other long enough to build spaceships, but you brought your weapons with you. You carry your wars into the stars." Before Taeyang could respond, an emergency signal cut through the transmission. A new voice, panicked and desperate, filled the chamber. "This is Civilian Station Kepler-7. We're under attack. The Krellian horde just entered the system. We have 15,000 civilians here. Our defenses won't hold. We need help immediately." Braun's face went pale. The Krellian horde, pirates and raiders who had terrorized the outer regions for decades. The council had never found their home base, never stopped their attacks. The horde struck fast and disappeared before military response could arrive. "Where is the nearest council fleet?" Viren demanded. 4 hours away at maximum speed," came the response. "The station doesn't have 4 hours." Everyone looked at the display showing the human vessels. Still there. Still waiting. Still close enough to reach Kepler-7 in minutes, Viren faced the hardest decision of his long life. Trust the terrifying humans or watch thousands die. He turned to the communication link. Captain Heianwu, we have a situation. Admiral Borum made her decision in seconds. Heianwu, take indomitable retribution and defiance to engage the Krellian fleet. Sujin, you have rescue operations? Get those civilians out. Everyone else, maintain position here and look non-threatening. Captain Heianwu's ship was already moving before the orders finished. 3 human warships accelerated toward Kepler-7 at speeds that made the watching aliens gasp. The humans crossed distances in minutes that should have taken hours. Aboard Retribution. Captain Sujin studied the tactical display. Station Kepler-7 showed heavy damage. 43 Krellian vessels surrounded it, hammering the shields with sustained weapons fire. The station's defenses were failing. Life support was critical. Thousands of civilians huddled in emergency shelters waiting for rescue that wouldn't arrive in time. ETA to station. Sujin asked. 90 seconds, her navigator replied. Good. Lieutenant Jae-sung, target priority on those Krellian ships closest to the station. We need to draw their fire away from the civilians. Weapons free as soon as we're in range. Yes, Captain. On Indomitable, Commander G1 coordinated with the other 2 ships. The plan was simple. Retribution would focus on rescue. Indomitable and Defiance would eliminate the Krellian threat. Human military doctrine didn't believe in complicated plans. Hit hard, hit fast. Overwhelm the enemy before they understood what was happening. Ensign Minho sat at his station. Hands steady, despite this being his first real combat. He had trained for years. Run countless simulations. But simulations didn't capture the feeling of acceleration as the ship pushed toward battle. Didn't capture the weight of knowing real lives depended on his performance. Steady, Ensign, Heianwu said calmly. Just like training. Follow your procedures. Trust your team, yes, sir. The Krellian horde noticed the approaching human ships. Warlord Krek studied these newcomers with experienced eyes. 3 vessels against his 43. Probably some kind of suicide run. Honorable, but pointless. He had been raiding Council space for decades. He knew how these civilized species fought. Long-range weapon exchanges. Careful maneuvering. Shields gradually weakening. Hours of careful battle before anyone died. Ignore them, Krex ordered. Stay focused on the station. We'll deal with these fools after we secure the cargo. It was the last mistake he would ever make. Indomitable dropped out of FTL at the edge of weapons range and immediately opened fire. No warnings. No posturing. No diplomatic hails. Just instant, overwhelming violence. Railguns spat solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missiles launched in swarms, each one capable of independent targeting. Energy weapons stabbed through space, precise and deadly. Kinetic strikes bypassed energy shields. Explosive warheads detonated against hulls. Directed energy beams burned through armor. 4 Krellian ships died in the first 3 seconds. What in the... Krek started to say. Defiance arrived on Indomitable's flank and added its firepower to the barrage. The humans fought like nothing Krex had ever encountered. They didn't wait for shields to fail. They didn't engage in long-range duels. They closed to knife-fighting range and tore their enemies apart. Lieutenant Jae-sung coordinated Indomitable's weapons with mechanical precision. Railgun targeting solutions updated faster than Krellian ships could maneuver. Missiles anticipated evasive patterns before the enemy even thought of them. Every shot was calculated to maximize damage and minimize wasted ammunition. Acquiring new target? Target locked. Firing. G1 watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The humans had discussed this scenario during training. How to fight numerically superior forces. The answer was simple. Don't give them time to coordinate. Destroy them faster than they can organize a response. Create chaos and exploit it ruthlessly. Enemy attempting to regroup, G1 reported. They're forming defensive formation. Break it, Heianwu ordered. Indomitable accelerated directly at the Krellian line. It should have been suicide. One ship charging into concentrated enemy fire. Instead, the human warship's point defense systems activated. Automated weapons tracked hundreds of incoming missiles simultaneously. Lasers and railguns destroyed projectiles the moment they entered range. Nothing touched Indomitable's shields. The humans burst through the Krellian formation like a missile through tissue paper. Then they turned and attacked from behind, trapping the enemy between two human ships. Meanwhile, Retribution reached the station. Captain Sujin studied the damage reports. Hull breaches on 3 levels. Life support failing in Sector 9. Structural integrity compromised throughout. The station was dying. Deploy emergency response teams, Sujin ordered. Medical personnel, 2 critical areas. Engineering teams to stabilize life support. Security teams to secure evacuation routes. I want every civilian off this station in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Her first officer protested. Standard evacuation procedures require at least 2 hours for a station this size. We don't have 2 hours. Use override protocols. Emergency measures. Whatever it takes, human rescue teams poured into the station wearing powered exoskeletons that let them move massive debris. They cut through damaged bulkheads with plasma torches. They carried injured civilians through sections that would have killed unprotected aliens. Human medics worked in areas with toxic atmosphere levels, their enhanced physiology letting them function where others would have collapsed. Dr. Haywon directed medical operations from Retribution's sickbay. Injured aliens arrived in waves. Multiple species with different biologies, different tolerances for pain and injury, different medical requirements. It should have been impossible to treat them all, but humans had studied alien biology obsessively, prepared for this exact scenario. Haywon's team worked with frightening efficiency. Triage decisions made in seconds. Treatment protocols adapted on the fly. Lives saved through skill and preparation. In space, the battle was ending. Krex watched his fleet dissolve around him. His ships couldn't maneuver fast enough to evade human weapons. Couldn't coordinate tactics because humans disrupted communications. Couldn't retreat because humans anticipated every escape route. He had lost 30 ships in 18 minutes. All vessels, emergency jump, Krex ordered. Get out now. His remaining 13 ships tried to activate their FTL drives. Humans had anticipated this too. Defiance launched specialized missiles that created localized gravity distortions. The Krellian ships couldn't form stable wormholes. They were trapped. Surrender. Hyenwoo's voice came over the communication channel. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You will be treated according to the rules of war. Krex considered fighting to the death. It would be honorable. But as he watched another of his ships explode under human fire, he realized something. These humans weren't just stronger. They were better at warfare in every way that mattered. Better tactics, better weapons, better training, better everything. He powered down his weapons. We surrender. The battle was over. 23 minutes from first shot to surrender. 0 human casualties. The Krellian horde, terror of the outer regions, had been completely defeated by 3 human ships. On Retribution, the last civilian evacuation shuttle launched. Captain Sujin checked her chronometer. 37 minutes. Not quite 30, but acceptable. All 15,000 civilians were safe. Captain, incoming transmission from the Council. Her communications officer reported. Sujin activated the channel. High Counselor Vron's face appeared, his expression unreadable. Behind him, dozens of alien representatives stared at the tactical data displaying what had just happened. Captain Sujin, report. All civilians evacuated successfully. The Krellian fleet is neutralized. We have 13 enemy ships in custody and approximately 400 prisoners. Requesting instructions for their disposal? You defeated them. In minutes. Though I should mention that Retribution was focused on rescue operations. Indomitable and Defiance did most of the combat work. There was a long silence. Then Viren spoke carefully. How many casualties did you sustain? None, sir. Minor injuries to some rescue personnel, but nothing serious. Ensign Minho from Indomitable has some burns from a damaged console. He's being treated now. It's more silence. Sujin could see the aliens conferring in the background. She could guess what they were thinking. Humans had just accomplished something the Galactic Council had failed to do for decades. The Krellian horde had been an unsolved problem, a constant threat. 3 human ships had eliminated them as a fighting force in less than half an hour. "Captain Sujin, please stand by," Viren said. The transmission cut. Sujin looked at her bridge crew. They looked back, uncertain. Minho had asked earlier why everyone was treating him like a war hero. He didn't understand that by galactic standards, what humans considered a minor skirmish was the most violent military engagement in recent history. Aboard Indomitable, Heianwu received a private communication from Admiral Boram. "You did well, Captain. But we have a problem, sir. The Council is terrified of us. They watched us destroy that moon. Now they watched us annihilate the Krellian horde. They're not seeing us as allies. They're seeing us as the next threat. What do we do?" The Galactic Council chamber held representatives from 47 species, but it had never felt this tense. Councillor Guinea stood before them, the first human to formally address the galactic government. She had spent her entire diplomatic career preparing for this moment. Now she wished she had more time. "Honored representatives," Guinea began, "I understand your concerns about humanity. We're new to you. Our capabilities are intimidating. Our history is violent. But I ask you to judge us not by our capacity for war, but by our choices in peace." General Vex rose from his seat. The military commander had become the voice of the anti-human faction. "Your choices? You chose to build warships that can destroy moons? You chose to develop weapons that make our entire military arsenal look primitive. You chose to spread across space with the tools of conquest."
Oh.
"We chose to survive," Janae replied. "Let me tell you about Earth. Our world tried to kill us from the moment we evolved. Predators that saw us as food, diseases that wiped out populations, natural disasters that destroyed civilizations. We didn't develop our strength because we loved violence. We developed it because anything less meant extinction." She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared. Beautiful, but deadly. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Megafauna that made the watching aliens shudder. "We fought each other because we didn't know better," Janae continued. "For thousands of years, we thought differences meant enemies. Different skin colors, different beliefs, different nations. We killed millions learning what you already knew. That cooperation is better than conflict. That peace is preferable to war. Yet you still build weapons," another counselor pointed out, "because we remember the cost of being helpless. Earth was almost conquered by our own kind several times. Dictators who wanted to rule the world. Ideologies that demanded submission. We learned that peace requires strength. Not strength to conquer others, but strength to protect what matters." Ambassador Taeyang joined Jinei at the podium. "I want to share something with you. Human culture. Our art and literature. So you can understand who we really are. It was a mistake." Tiang had chosen what he thought were the best examples of human creativity. Classic literature, epic poems, historical documents. He didn't realize how they would sound to species that had known 3,000 years of peace. The aliens listened to human fairy tales and heard stories of child abandonment and cannibalism. They read human history and saw endless cycles of warfare. They examined human philosophy and found concepts like necessary evil and lesser of two evils. That implied evil was sometimes acceptable. Even human love songs used warfare metaphors. Conquering hearts, battles between lovers, weapons of attraction. Everything was combat-oriented. Dayun stood in the observation area, reviewing the cultural data more carefully than she had before. She was trying to find something that proved humans weren't monsters. Something that showed they could exist peacefully alongside other species. Instead, she found human sports. They physically crashed into each other for entertainment. Human games where they simulated warfare. Human music with titles like War and Fight Song that were apparently popular and inspiring rather than cautionary. "This species is broken," she heard a counselor whisper. "They can't conceive of existence without conflict." But Dayun kept searching. There had to be more. The humans she had met didn't seem like monsters. Dr. Youngsu had been excited and friendly. Captain Hyan-Woo had been professional and restrained. Even the soldiers seemed more like protectors than conquerors. Commander Sang-Woo sat in Indomitable's intelligence center, monitoring the Council's communications. The encrypted channels showed exactly what Admiral Borum had feared. A coalition was forming. 6 species had agreed to attack Earth. 12 more were considering joining. They were assembling a fleet in secret, timing it for when the human expeditionary force was too far from Earth to return quickly. "How confident are we in this intelligence?" Hyan-Woo asked. They're not being as subtle as they think. Multiple references to the human problem. Discussion of preemptive measures. Debate about whether it's ethical to destroy an entire species to protect the galaxy. When does the attack begin? 72 hours? Maybe less if they accelerate their timeline. Hyan-Woo made a decision. Get me a channel to Admiral Borum, secure and encrypted. When Borum appeared on the screen, she already knew what he would say. You want to go back to Earth? We have to defend our home. And if we do that, we prove their fears correct. We show them that humans respond to threats with force. We validate everything they believe about us. So what do? Let them destroy Earth? No, Borum said. We show them what human warships can really do. And we make them understand why attacking Earth is suicide. The demonstration was arranged for the following day. Admiral Borum requested permission to conduct military exercises in an uninhabited system. The Council agreed, mostly because they wanted to see what humans had been hiding. Every major species sent observation ships. They gathered at a safe distance and watched as 6 human warships prepared for the display. What are they doing? Viren asked. Calibrating weapon systems, an analyst reported. Sir, the power readings are increasing. These aren't the levels we saw before. On Indomitable's bridge, Commander G1 checked every system personally. Weapons at full operational capacity. All limiters removed. Point defense systems online. Energy weapons charged. Missile racks loaded. Show them everything, Hyan-Woo asked. Admiral's orders. Everything except the classified systems. The demonstration began with the point defense systems. Human ships released thousands of small drones programmed to simulate incoming missiles. Then the point defense activated. Automated lasers tracked and destroyed every single drone in less than 3 seconds. Thousands of targets, eliminated faster than most species could even detect them. Next came the energy weapons. Small asteroid field provided targets. The human ships fired sustained beams that carved through solid rock like it was paper. They fired pulse weapons that exploded entire asteroids with single shots. They demonstrated accuracy that could hit a target the size of a person from thousands of kilometers away. The missiles came next, not the conventional weapons the aliens had seen. These were advanced systems with independent AI, capable of dodging point defense and choosing their own attack vectors. They demonstrated warheads that could split into dozens of submunitions, missiles that could outmaneuver defensive fire, weapons that created gravity distortions or electromagnetic pulses. Dayun whispered, "Those are just their conventional weapons." Engineer Dong Haeon provided commentary on the public channel. "The weapons you're seeing represent our standard arsenal. Every human warship carries similar capabilities. But I want to explain something important about human ship design." He displayed technical specifications that made the alien analysts gasp. Most civilizations build ships for exploration and add weapons for defense. Humans do the opposite. We design weapons platforms and add exploration capabilities. Every system, every design choice, optimizes for combat effectiveness. The reactor specifications alone were terrifying. Human ships generated power levels that most species use for entire planetary grids. They could sustain full combat operations for months. They carried enough ammunition to fight continuous battles. They had redundant systems for every critical function. Our defensive systems are equally robust, Dong Haeon continued. Watch. Indomitable allowed several demonstration weapons to hit its shields. The energy barriers absorbed impacts that would have destroyed most alien vessels. When the shields finally failed, the armor underneath was thick enough to shrug off further hits. When the armor was breached, automated systems sealed the damage and began repairs even while under fire. "Now, I'll show you something special." Boyerm's voice came over the channel. "Our FTL systems." The 6 human ships vanished. The watching aliens assumed they had left the system. Then Indomitable reappeared directly beside one of the observation vessels. It had jumped across the system in seconds. Then it jumped again, appearing beside another ship. "Human FTL drives can make precision jumps inside solar systems," Boyerm explained. "We can appear anywhere, anytime. There's no position we can't reach, no distance we can't cross in seconds." The final demonstration was the one that broke the alien spirits. Boyerm ordered a full-power display of what humans called gravitational weapons. They didn't explain what these weapons were. They simply fired them at an uninhabited planet in the test system. The planet's surface rippled. Tectonic plates shifted. The planet's rotation stuttered. And then the entire world broke apart, torn into pieces by forces the watching aliens couldn't even measure properly. "We don't use these weapons," Boyerm said flatly. "We develop them and then lock them away. Because some things are too terrible even for war. But I wanted you to know they exist. I wanted you to understand what Earth can do if threatened." The demonstration ended. Silence filled the communication channels. The observation ships began retreating, their crews overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. In the council chamber, the debate intensified. Some representatives argued the demonstration proved humans were too dangerous to exist. Others claimed it proved humans were too dangerous too. Ambassador Taeyong's proposal was simple and terrifying. Let representatives from the Galactic Council visit Earth. No escorts. No weapons. No protection. Come see our homeworld. Meet our people. Judge us by who we are, not what we can destroy. The council chamber erupted. Dozens of voices shouted at once. Most thought Taeyong was insane. A few suspected it was a trap. "You want us to travel to your home system?" Boyerm asked carefully. "Surrounded by your defenses? At the mercy of your weapons?" "Yes, because actions speak louder than words. We can tell you we're peaceful, or we can prove it by making ourselves vulnerable to you." Captain Hyun-woo, listening from Indomitable, thought the ambassador had lost his mind. "Admiral, this is crazy. We're inviting potential enemies to see Earth's defenses. They'll map everything, learn our weaknesses." "I know," Boyerm replied. "But Taeyong is right. We can't win this with fear. We need trust. And trust requires risk." Commander G1 was already calculating the tactical implications. "If this goes wrong, if they attack while we're showing them Earth, we'll have to destroy them all. That would make the situation even worse." "Then we make sure it doesn't go wrong," Hyun-woo said. EU and volunteered for the delegation. She wanted to understand these humans, needed to understand them. She had reviewed every piece of data, studied every cultural artifact, and she still couldn't reconcile the contradiction. Humans built terrible weapons, but claimed to want peace. They demonstrated the capacity for violence, but showed restraint. They were predators who protected prey. Delegation consisted of 12 representatives from different species. Daeun, High Counselor Viaran, General Vex. Several others who represented the Council's diverse perspectives. They boarded a human transport ship unarmed, as requested, and began the journey to Earth. The trip took 3 days. The human crew was professional and friendly. They gave tours of the ship, answered questions about human culture, shared meals from their various Earth regions. The aliens tried foods called pizza and curry and bibimbap. Some were delicious. Some were painfully spicy for species with sensitive digestive systems. Dr. Young-soo was aboard, enthusiastically explaining human biology and history. "You have to understand, Earth shaped us in very specific ways. High gravity made us strong. Scarce resources made us efficient. Dangerous predators made us cooperative. We survived by working together." "But you also fought each other," Vex pointed out. "We did. For thousands of years. Wars over territory, resources, beliefs. We were very good at killing each other. But eventually we learned. The wars got so terrible that we had to change or go extinct. We chose to change. We chose to build bigger weapons, Vex said. No. Well, yes, but that's not the point. We built weapons to prevent wars. The logic was simple. If everyone has the power to destroy everyone else, no one dares to start a fight. It's called mutually assured destruction. It's terrifying, but it worked. Dayun studied the human crew members. They came in different skin colors and physical builds. She learned that humans had something called ethnicities, genetic variations from different Earth regions, but they all identified as human. All worked together seamlessly. Your species is remarkably unified, Dayun observed. A young crew member named Jin-Su laughed. You should have seen us a few hundred years ago. We fought wars over skin color, over religious beliefs, over which economic system was better. We almost destroyed ourselves several times. What changed? We found a common purpose. Reaching the stars, meeting other species. We realized our differences were tiny compared to what we shared. And we learned that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. Earth appeared on the view screens, and the alien delegates fell silent. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses, but the scans revealed the truth beneath the beauty. Crushing gravity, violent weather systems, tectonic instability, active volcanoes. This world was constantly trying to kill its inhabitants. How do you survive here? Viren asked. We adapt, Youngsu replied simply. Humans are very good at adapting. The orbital approach revealed Earth's defenses. Weapon platforms that made the expeditionary fleet look small. Battle stations bristling with the gravitational weapons they had seen demonstrated. Thousands of defensive satellites. Patrol craft moving in precise formations. This is just the outer defense perimeter, a human officer explained casually. There are 3 more layers closer to the planet. The ship landed at a spaceport in a city called Seoul. The aliens emerged cautiously, feeling the heavy gravity immediately. Most needed assistance to move. Humans walked easily, not even noticing the weight that made every step feel like climbing a mountain. The city was overwhelming. Millions of humans moving through their daily lives. Buildings that stretched toward the sky. Technology everywhere, but also art, music, gardens, children playing in parks. Elderly humans sitting on benches, watching the world go by. This is our home, Taeyang said. Not a military base. Not a fortress. Just people living their lives. They visited schools where human children learned about the galaxy. The young humans were excited to meet aliens. They asked questions, drew pictures, sang songs in their various languages. Dayun found herself charmed. Despite her caution, they visited hospitals where human doctors explained their medical philosophy. We take care of each other, Dr. Hay once said. In our history, the strongest societies weren't the ones with the best weapons. They were the ones that protected their weakest members. They visited museums. This was what finally made Dayun understand. The museums showed human history honestly. The wars, the atrocities, the mistakes. But also the progress. The peace treaties. The moments when enemies became friends. The gradual, painful journey toward something better. We don't hide our past, Engineer Donghaean explained. We study it. Learn from it. These museums exist, so we never forget the cost of hatred and violence. In one museum, they found a memorial to soldiers who had died in wars. The names of millions of humans carved into stone. Dayun read the inscription, "We remember their sacrifice. We honor their courage. We commit ourselves to making their deaths meaningful by building a better world." You celebrate warriors, Vex observed. We honor them, Donghaean corrected. There's a difference. We remember what they did, but we also remember why they had to do it. And we work to create a world where no one else has to. General Vex stood before the memorial for a long time. He was a military officer. He understood duty and sacrifice. But his species had known peace for so long that military service was ceremonial. These humans remembered when soldiers actually died, when wars actually destroyed, and they chose to honor that memory rather than forget it. They're not monsters, Vex said quietly to Viren. They're survivors who remember what it cost to survive. The final stop was humanity's military command center. Admiral Borum met them personally. Behind her, displays showed the locations of every human ship, the defensive networks, the weapon systems, everything. Why are you showing us this? Viren asked. Because secrecy breeds suspicion, Borum replied. You were planning to attack Earth. Commander Song-Woo intercepted your communications. We knew about the Coalition fleet. We could have struck first. We chose not to. The aliens looked at each other, shame and fear mixing on their faces. Why? Vex demanded. We were planning to destroy you. Why didn't you defend yourselves? Because we understood your fear. We are terrifying. Our weapons are terrible. Our history is violent. You saw a threat and wanted to eliminate it. We would have done the same in your position. Borum activated a display showing the Coalition fleet. They're still assembling, still planning to attack, but I'm not going to stop them with force. I'm going to trust that you, having seen Earth, having met our people, will make the right choice. What if we don't? Vex asked. What if we still attack? Borum's expression hardened. Then we defend ourselves. Every human ship returns to Earth. Every defensive system activates. Every weapon we've built over centuries of warfare gets used. And when it's over, both our species will have learned exactly why war should always be the last option. Is that a threat? No, it's a promise. We will defend our home, but we'll mourn every life lost, both yours and ours, because that's who humans are. We're capable of terrible violence, but we hate having to use it. The delegation returned to the council that evening. The chamber filled as they prepared to present their findings. Dayun spoke first. I went to Earth expecting to find monsters, she said. I found people. Complicated, contradictory people. They build weapons and hospitals. They study warfare and medicine. They remember their violent past and work for a peaceful future. They're not perfect, but they're trying. Viren stood. The question before us is simple. Can we coexist with humanity? Can we trust them? I believe we can. Not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to choose restraint. General Vex rose slowly. Every eye turned to him. He had been the loudest voice calling for humanity's destruction. I was wrong, Vex said. I saw human strength and called it aggression. I saw human weapons and assumed hostile intent. But I didn't understand. They didn't build those weapons to conquer us. They built them to protect themselves. And now they're offering to protect us too. What are you saying? A counselor asked.